Hi, fifth grade. Today we are going to be reading the chapter 5 in our purple book. It's called Aztec City on Water's Edge. So we are done with the Maya and we are moving on to the Aztecs now. So you can read chapter 5 either on your own or in groups as long as you are reading out loud so that I or the sub who are in here will know that you are actually reading the book. I am not recording the chapter today. It does sound like most of us were getting through those chapters reading with friends or reading on our own. So that's awesome. This chapter is only a few pages. It's not super long. Lots of pictures to look at. And we are not going on to chapter 6 just yet. So only a few pages. So we should be good with those few pages. Once we are done reading chapter 5, we are going to update our chart here. We haven't looked at our chart in a couple days, so we are going to look at our chart, and I have filled this in for you already. So if you would like to just pause the video, you can go ahead and fill these in. I am going to go over them. So what we learned is that the Aztecs were around between 1100 and 1520 CE. This is not BCE like the Maya. They were way after in CE, so Common Era. Still a long time ago, but not as long ago as the Maya. They were after year 0. They were located in Mexico. We got that from our map. It tells you in this chapter that their capital city is, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan, yes. Their capital city is Tenochtitlan. And each city has a sacred spot in their city itself. Most of them were pyramids. Some of them had big city centers or community places, but they all had a sacred spot. And they were also able to convert their swampy areas or their wet areas to habitable land, using our vocab words there. Their food, it told you a lot of their food on the second page of the chapter, but maize is the big one. Maize is corn, remember? They also ate frogs, fish, and algae. They were hunters, and then they also farmed beans, squash, tomatoes, and chilies. And they also had really advanced irrigation systems like you might see today in farms, where farmers actually dig out or excavate out certain parts of the land to allow water to flow through. So they actually made these systems that long ago. Their social structure is pretty much the same. They had nobles, commoners, then slaves. Nobles were the highest. They did not have specific kings in each settlement. They did have an emperor who ruled over everybody, but the emperor was not part of their social class in their society. So slaves, then commoners, which would be most normal people, and then their nobles that ran their cities. So they had one less than, or I'm sorry, yes, they had one less than the Maya. Again, go ahead and pause this at any time to go ahead and copy these down. So the government, as I said before, the emperor ruled over all the people. And if we didn't write in government for the Maya, each city had its own king. Make sure you get that in there. The religion of the Aztecs, they worshipped the Quetzalcoatl. It was the serpent god king for the most part, but they had many other gods, and they worshipped them in their pyramids or their sacred spots. The art had religious purpose. That's the same for the Maya. The Maya created rock sculptures and wood carvings, and the same thing with the Aztec. They created sculptures and poetry and pottery and all sorts of jewelry, but only nobles were allowed to wear the jewelry. The writing system, remember the Maya did not write. They didn't have a writing system. They did have a math system, but not a writing system. And the writing system of the Aztecs was hieroglyphics. That is a really long, fancy word just to mean picture letters. Instead of writing the letter A, they would draw a little picture to represent the letter itself. And we will go over hieroglyphics in the next couple days. Again, pause this at any time to take down these notes. The next one, technology. If you didn't get in the Mayan calendar or Maya math, go ahead and write that in. So the Aztecs, they had their irrigation system, which we talked about. They had their writing system. If you want to write in hieroglyphics, you can. They also had Chinampas, which were the water gardens, which they talked about in the first couple pages of the chapter, where they actually had to find a way to turn their swampy land into gardening areas. So they made water gardens. Gender roles: men were warriors and women were the healers and the teachers. Now, in the Maya world, the men were the warriors and the women were just everything else. But in the Aztec society, women had specific roles as their healers for their medicine and their teachers of all their young children. We don't know yet what happened to the decline of the Aztecs. We haven't read that far yet, but we do know that the decline of the Maya was brought on by droughts, loss of food, and diseases. So go ahead and pause this to get these written down. The very last thing we are doing today before you get to your free time is we are working back in our packet. This should be your next page. I haven't ripped my first simple summary off yet, but this should be your next page. It says ill and ear prefixes, meaning not. We are just filling in the missing words. I will do them with you right now. So the root word is when you do not have the prefix ill or ear in front. It is just the root word. So if we took ill off legible, we'd have just legible. And so if illegible means not able to read, legible would mean able to read. Legal is allowed, so illegal would be not allowed. Irresponsible is not trusted, so responsible would be trusted. Replaceable is capable of being duplicated, so irreplaceable is not able to be duplicated. Duplicated just means copied. And the very last one is irregular, which means not normal. So regular would mean normal. Once you've gotten this page filled out, cut and glued and put in your notebook, as well as filled out your chart and read the chapter, you are done for the day and can have some free time. Bye, 5th grade.